Hello and welcome once again to Murfer's Music Reviews! And today we're going to be talking about Michael Nesmith, formerly of the Monkees. Before we get into the episode itself, we must talk about our sponsor, Home for the LD Lee. And as you can see, we do have a couple of Laserdiscs here. Obviously the Monkees, that was the band that Mike Nesmith made a name for himself in, so they're relevant in that regard. And Tapehead is a movie that he has a bit part in, as I think he's a water delivery guy or something like that. It's been a while since I watched it. And yeah, he's also the producer of that film. It's a film I'd imagine was quite close to his heart, as it's about these guys that make music videos, and he basically is at least one of the people who invented MTV. He was certainly very much an important player in that story. We probably wouldn't have had MTV if it weren't for Michael Nesmith and his work with the Pacific Arts Company and all of that sort of stuff. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about Laserdiscs. A great way to watch films and concerts and various other things. So yes, if you are looking to get into Laserdiscs, go to Home for the LD Lee. Now, Mike Nesmith has an interesting career. He started playing guitar at a young age due to an injury to his hand. He had been playing with fireworks, and in order to rebuild the muscles in his hand, it was suggested that he learn to play the guitar, and so he did. And he initially attempted to start a career under the name Michael Blessing.
I'm not an angel, I'm just a man. You're not a queen, you're just a woman. Hold my hand. We'll make a space in the lives we both had planned. And here we'll stay until it's time for you to go.
He had limited success under that name. He did do some songwriting for other people, and then he got cast in the Monkees. Now, while the Monkees were all capable musicians in their own right, it was decided by Don Kirshner, who was sort of in charge of what songs they would play, when the albums would come out, all of that sort of thing. Don Kirshner kind of had this reputation as being the boy with the golden ear. He could just sort of hear a song and say whether it was going to be a hit or not, and usually he was right. And so they just sort of went with what he said. And it wasn't actually that uncommon for bands from America to actually not play their own instruments at that time. They obviously had to do it live, but the Beach Boys, the Byrds, various others, it's not them on the record. In fact, it's the same people that were playing on those first two Monkees albums. And while Mickey Dolenz and Davy Jones were okay to go along with this, this was not the case for either Peter Tork or Mike Nesmith. They were much more experienced musicians, and so they wanted to actually have more say in how the records would sound, and also actually just to get to play on them. This led to a fairly hostile relationship between Nesmith and Don Kirshner. This sort of came to a head when Don Kirshner brought in a song called Sugar Sugar, which he was convinced would be a hit, and Mike wanted nothing to do with it. And so Don Kirshner started waving contracts around, saying, "You've got to do this because you're under contract." And Mike Nesmith punched his hand through a wall and said, "That could have been your face, motherfucker."
Sugar. My candy girl, and you got me wanting you, honey. Oh, sugar, sugar, you are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you. I just can't believe the loveliness of loving you.
So after a few other issues with Kirshner, they eventually did let Kirshner go. People have tried to sort of paint him as the victim here, but actually he was a bit of an asshole. And actually maybe we need to get the Pirate King in for this. Arr, Don Kirshner, you wouldn't let the Monkees play their own instruments, therefore you can walk the plank. Arr!
He done fell in the water.
Arr, and while I'm here, Don Henley, yes, another Don, we had to re-edit our last video 3 times to get that up. That's why that Eagles clip is played backwards. Don Henley apparently has a real stick up his arse about the use of Eagles material. So, yeah, pirates don't like that, and so he's walking the plank too. Arr!
He done fell in the water.
And so with Don Kirshner out of the way, the Monkees were free to make their third album, Headquarters. Now this was the first album they made where they had full control over what they were going to do, so they played their own instruments, they chose the songs or wrote the songs themselves, and it's probably their best album. So before we get to the Mike Nesmith album that's going to be the main subject of this video, we're just going to go through Headquarters. Now, Mike Nesmith's background was more in country music, and Peter Tork was certainly heavily involved with that scene too, so that was something that was going to come up a lot on this album, and it's certainly part of the opening song, You Told Me. Well, it does have quite a strong country feel to it. I wouldn't say that it's an all-out country song. It has that kind of droning sort of feel you might get from Indian music and the psychedelic music that was happening at the time. But they didn't write all of the songs themselves. They did still go with some songs from the various established songwriting teams, such as Boyce and Hart. And Boyce and Hart provided them with the song Forget That Girl. Each of the Monkees had songs that would just sort of play into their strengths. Obviously, Mike had the more country sort of feel. Peter Tork was perhaps a bit more avant-garde, but also just very much involved with the hippie scene at the time, so maybe a bit more psychedelic. Then you have Mickey as perhaps the more pop-focused singer, and then you have Davy Jones, who sort of came from that West End musical background.
She walks by every day about this time, and I don't think I'll ever get her off of my mind.
There are also songs like Band 6 and No Time, which were actually just from the Monkees jamming in the studio, really just sort of showing that they could actually play their own instruments and be creative and come up with their own things. And so, No Time has become one of their sort of more well-known songs. And it's written by the Monkees, although they gave the credit to the engineer as a special thank you for his work on the album.
Burning from the rising heat to find a place to hide. The grass is always greener growing on the other side. And no time, no time, no time, no time for you. No time, no time at all. I got no time, baby, got lots of better things to do. No time, walk on Georgia Ringo, one time.
And while Mickey Dolenz was generally the more pop-focused guy, he brings in his first songwriting contribution in the form of Randy Skauskit, or as it was known in England, alternative title. You see, what happened was the record company said you cannot release a thing in England called Randy Skauskit because it basically means horny, Liverpudlian idiot. And they thought, this is an insult, you can't have that on a record label. We need an alternative title. And so Mickey came back with alternative title.
Now they've darkened all the windows and the seats and all the hide. I've been waiting for an hour, I can't find a place to hide. The being known as Wonder Girl is speaking, I believe. It's not easy trying to tell her that I shortly have to leave. Why don't you be like me? Why don't you stop and see? Why don't you hate who I hate, kill who I kill to be free?
A song written by Peter Tork actually became the Monkees' new closing theme for the television show. That was For Pete's Sake. Another contribution from Boyce and Hart was the ballad Mr. Webster.
Gave a retirement party for Mr. Webster. Everyone in the bank was there. They had a cake and flowers ordered special, and Frisbee had a speech prepared, and a little white box that held a watch with this inscription: to Mr. Webster with regard.
And a rather odd track that was not really a song so much, it's just sort of a spoken word bit called Zilch. It is written by all four Monkees, and this was inspired by hearing announcements over the studio PA system.
Zilch, Mr. Doubleina, Mr. Bob Doubleina, Mr. Doubleina, Mr. Bob Doubleina.
Zilch, China Clipper calling Alameda. China Clipper calling Alameda.
Zilch,
China Clipper calling Alameda.
self-defense. Never mind the furthermore, the plea is self-defense. Never mind the furthermore, the plea is self-defense.
It is of my opinion that the people are intending. It is of my opinion that the people are intending. It is of my opinion that the people are intending. It is of my opinion that the people are intending. It is of my opinion that the people are. It is of my opinion that it is of my people that the Tim.
Never mind the furthermore.
It is a right. It is.
And Peter Tork's part of it would actually be sampled many years later by Del the Funky Homo Sapien for his song Mr. Doubleina.
So you gotta kick it with the homie, but DEL is already hip to your cronies. DNCMP's thought about this and never have we seen a brother who would have her like Mr. Doubleina. Mr. Bob Doubleina, Mr. Doubleina, Mr. Doubleina, Mr. Bob Doubleina, Mr. Doubleina, Mr. Bob Doubleina, Mr. Doubleina, Mr. Bob Doubleina.
As for Mike's contributions, he had Sunny Girlfriend,
She's got a book that tells about everybody's past. She can make you slow while making your mind move fast. She's my sunny girlfriend. She's never
and You Just May Be the One.
Someone who would never take advantage of the love bright as the sun. Someone to understand them, and you just may be the one.
Mike always had that country influence in what he was doing with the Monkees, and that was something he would certainly explore more of in his solo work, which is what we're mostly here to talk about today, with his solo project, The First National Band. And the album we're going to talk about is Loose Salute. Now, some people, such as previously mentioned Don Kirshner, like to write Michael Nesmith's solo stuff off as just country music. But that's not really the case. This is certainly quite a diverse album. It does have a lot of country influences in it, but I'd say it's closer to what we now know as country rock. I'd say probably in the same sort of category as Eagles or Little River Band or any of those sorts of more folksy, mostly acoustic rock groups that you would see in the sort of 70s and 80s. The country feel is also added to by the contributions of the pedal steel guitar player Red Rhodes, who was a very important part of the band, and really just gave them that sort of extra sort of something to their sound, whereas you obviously hear that a lot in country music, and there were other rock bands that were using it, but certainly not to the degree that the First National Band were. Now, the album starts with the hit single Silver Moon, and you may notice in the background my brother The Works, who is up on Dick's head today. He's done another painting for us, and this one is called Standing in the Lonely Light of the Silver Moon, where you've got the Murphy brothers and Cousin Furphy hanging out with Michael Nesmith, although he does admit that it does look a bit more like Jack White from the White Stripes. Well, used to be White Stripes, now he's solo, but yeah. So yeah, Silver Moon, it's one of Mike's biggest solo hits. He's actually played it on reunion shows with the Monkees, and yeah, it's a great song. Unfortunately, the only footage we could find is from more recent performances. It would have been great to have footage of the First National Band playing it, but instead we've got the First National Band Redux, which was something that Mike did 5 years ago now. That's where it's basically a completely different band. But yeah, it's still a pretty good performance of the song. But yeah, it would have been nice to have the proper one. After that, we go to probably the most country song on the album. In fact, it is a cover of an older country song called I Fall to Pieces. And then we get into a bit more of a rock feel with Dedicated Friend. It does still have a country feel, but for its time I'd say that it's probably more leaning towards the country rock feel. But it's also a little bit psychedelic and a little bit funky too, and that's something that surprises a lot of people with this album, just that it does have a lot of funk influence in there as well. And I think there's actually quite a few moments on this album that I'm surprised have never been sampled by anyone. Maybe they just can't get the rights to it. But there are certain songs on here that I'll mention later. But I think that this album could be a potential goldmine for someone looking for samples for rap and dance music and hip-hop and that sort of thing. So yeah, we've got that very sort of southern rock feel to it with that one. Then we have songs like Tengo Amore. That sort of brings a more sort of South American Latin vibe to it. There's also a version of the song Listen to the Band, which had actually done previously with the Monkees in a more rock vibe, but this one is a slightly more country rock version. Personally, I do prefer the Monkees version, but this version is cool too. So yeah, we'll play a clip of that now.
Listen to the band.
There's a bit more of that sort of funky country rock sound on the song Bye Bye Bye. There's also a really nice soothing ballad called Lady of the Valley. that sort of has a very folky feel to it, sort of very almost traditional music. It's one of those songs that sounds like it's been around forever, but was only really written in, I think, 1970. Maybe it was older than that, but that's when it was released. So, yeah. And the album closes with, and I was talking about that sampling thing earlier, with a song called Hello Lady, which is almost full-on funk. And certainly that intro, I'm surprised that that's never been snapped up by anyone. It wouldn't be the first time that a Mike Nesmith song would have been sampled. The Monkees song Mary Mary that he wrote, that's been sampled quite a lot.
Hello, lady friend, good news. Lady, good news. Lady friend, you are. Lady, you are. Lady friend, hello. Lady, hello. Lady friend, was the year of happy moving, standing close and gentle loving, while the sandy stretches called me on.
So I'm surprised no one's really digged into his discography to find other moments like that, because, yeah, I think you could almost build a career around, or certainly an album's worth of material out of samples from this record. So yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention earlier with the Monkees headquarters, it was already on the Banana 100 list, but I must say that it does get the 4 out of 4 opposable thumbs up, as does Loose Salute also gets the 4 out of 4 opposable thumbs up. And Loose Salute nearly made the list as well, but we just couldn't fit it in. But yeah, it is a great album, as you can see. Certainly underrated, and I think Michael Nesmith as a solo artist really deserves a lot more respect than he gets. The Monkees were incredible, but I think Mike Nesmith was just an amazing songwriter and singer, and he was a great guitar player as well. People don't sort of realize that. They think, oh, he was in the Monkees and there with this prefabricated band. But the guy deserves a lot more respect, and so we nearly did put that album on the list. We didn't have enough room for it, and we were already sort of kicking several albums off at the last minute to sort of try and get everything covered. But then we had the issues with the second part video with the clip of the Eagles, which we ended up having to play backwards, which Pirate King has already talked about. So we actually were thinking, well, maybe we will just bring back Loose Salute, and that would have taken the Eagles spot, but playing it backwards got past the copyright thing. So, yeah, Loose Salute is an amazing album, and more people should check it out. So, yeah, 4 out of 4 opposable thumbs for that, and 4 out of 4 opposable thumbs for Headquarters. And we could have just ended the video there, covering those two albums, but I thought, seeing as though we covered Headquarters, the first album where the Monkees were given full creative control, I thought I would also talk about the last time that would happen. After Headquarters, they did sort of continue to have control, but they sort of moved back to having more session musicians involved, because as much as Peter and Mike were really into doing the playing their own instruments thing, it wasn't as important to Davey and Mickey, so they just sort of didn't do it as much. They still took the control and wrote more songs, but yeah. So the last time that this would happen in the 90s. Throughout the 80s, Davey, Mickey, and Peter would get back together. They made several albums and did a lot of touring. But Mike was busy doing, setting up what became MTV, producing movies, and just generally doing other things. He was also very much involved with the early days of what we now call Second Life and virtual reality. His website, Video Ranch, was well ahead of its time. You could actually go around this whole video ranch, all in 3D, and you could you'd find bits of videos that would play, and yeah, it was really, really cool. I don't know what it's like now, but at one point he was having actual live concerts played through there, and yeah, stuff that you'd kind of take for granted on the internet these days, but this was happening in the 90s, and yeah, it was an interesting website, and he was well ahead of his time with that, certainly well into technology. He was good friends with Douglas Adams, and so yeah, it was sort of between him and Douglas Adams and Stephen Fry. I think they were the first people to ever get the Power Macs when they came out, well into the Apple Mac sort of world. And yeah, generally a very interesting guy doing a lot of very interesting things. But then the call came to maybe rejoin the Monkees, and he said he would only do it if they were to do it like they did Headquarters. So they play all their own instruments, and this time they were going to write their own songs and produce the album themselves. And that resulted in 1996's Justus. And while Mike spearheaded the album and did most of the production work and was very involved in the musical side of things, he only contributed 2 songs, and the first one was the opener, and it's actually a re-recording of a song that they did in the 60s called Circle Sky. When you think about a 90s reunion of a 60s band, that it would probably be a bit more, more of the same, what you were used to. But it was actually fairly modern sounding, and you could hear the influences of grunge and sort of the more adult contemporary pop music that was coming out at the time. I'd say that their song You and I is kind of similar to something that maybe the Cardigans would have done.
What you and I.
And then you have Peter Tork's contributions, which were certainly more in the world of alternative rock, like Runaway from Life.
Rest on changing, no more fights. We won't ever even disagree. Let's go off into the heavens in eternal happiness for free.
And then he also did I Believe You, which I think, if you could kind of imagine Nick Cave taking over the music for Sesame Street.
I believe you on a sunny day. I believe you chase the clouds away. I believe you. I believe you on a rainy night. I believe you put the moon to flight. I believe you.
Mickey Dolenz brought in a sort of Elvis pastiche called Unlucky Stars.
Unlucky stars are in my sky. My fortune teller, she saw me and cried. Said that I might have to wait. My lucky ship is lost, coming in too late.
A personal favourite of mine is a song that Mike wrote but Mickey sang, called Admiral Mike, which is basically just taking the media to account for, irresponsible journalism. It could kind of be seen as being about Kurt Cobain, or certainly a lot of the other people that were sort of dying in very tragic circumstances around that time, who had really been sort of hassled by the media and things like that. And yeah, it's really quite dark, and it does sound almost like something off of a grunge record. Another really great song on there, certainly more rock, heavy rock than you'd expect, is a song called Regional Girl, written by Mickey Dolenz.
She's a regional girl. Come to the big city, give it a whirl. She thinks that she can make it, she thinks that she can take it. I think she's gonna end up baking burgers in a basement. She's a regional girl. He's a regional guy. Come to the big city, give it a try. He wants to be a mover, yeah, he wants to shake it up. I think he's gonna end up pouring Pepsi in a cup, 'cause it's a regional life. It's a regional life.
And there's actually two versions of that song. The album version is uncensored, and then there's a single version which is censored, which is not something you'd generally think of with the Monkees, that they'd have to have a song censored, but it had drug references and a few mild swear words. It was none of the major ones, but a few very, very mild ones.
Eddie, Eddie, good and ready, now you've got your chance. Try to keep it out of jail, try to learn to dance, sing. Eddie, Eddie, good and ready, now you've got your chance. Try to keep the little buggers playing with your pants, sing. It's a regional life. The grass is always greener and the lawyers never lie. You wanna hit the big one, yeah, you wanna strike the bridge. I think you're gonna end up making burgers for some witch hog. It's a regional life. It's a regional life. The grass is always greener and the coke is purified. You wanna hit the big one, yeah, you wanna strike the bridge. I think you're gonna end up making burgers for some witch hog. It's a regional life.
So yeah, the album has a few weaker moments, but I'd say for the most part it's an amazing album. It certainly doesn't get the credit it deserves, and it was kind of written off by the critics at the time. But I think it does deserve a reappraisal, because I just think that it showed that the Monkees were more than capable of writing their own songs and playing all their own instruments. There's some great guitar moments from both Mike and from Peter, as well as Peter's amazing piano skills. So yeah, I just think that it really proves that they were a great band, and if they were maybe taken a bit more seriously, they may have actually done a lot more stuff like this. And it's a shame that when they got back together again, they decided to go more the other way, and so their last albums, they made a Christmas one, but their last actual album, Good Times, I don't think they wrote most of it. There might have been a couple of songs, but it was mostly they only provided vocals, and that was it. So I think that was a real shame. There's some great songs on that record, but I think that it would have been nice if they'd done it more like Justus, which sounds more like a real band. And yeah, I just think that it's one of the best things they ever did. I'm going to give it 3.5 opposable thumbs up. I can't quite give it the full 4 because there are a couple of kind of crappy songs on there. But for the most part, it is amazing, and I think that more people should check it out.
It's not too late to turn this ship around, to sail into the wind, my love, before we run aground. It's not too late to say that I love you, and it's not too late for you, my love, to say you love me too.
Anyway, that's all for this week on Murphy's Music Reviews. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share the video around, check out our TeePublic store. Yeah, I think that's all I need to say, so thank you for watching Murphy's Music Reviews!
Standing in the lonely light of the silver moon, looking over maps of memories for the road. Standing in the lonely light of the silver moon, with the unexpected destination of my I'm thinking, speaking sighs, as that same old wave of loneliness returns, and I can see you when I close my eyes, speaking very softly as you turn.